Hello music listeners, underground enthusiasts, and people who are upset that it is finally getting cold outside. I understand. Not fuck you. You guys had your moment. You had your summer where it was hot as shit and 100 fucking degrees outside every other day, burning, sweating through all of my clothes, looking like a mess. No, you had your time. Don't be talking about how it's cold now. It's our time now. Let us have this. Let me have this, please. Obligatory, I didn't make a video last week, so there's a couple songs on this that did not come out last week that I feel like are still worth talking about, so I'm gonna kind of include them in this run. Thanks for understanding. Let's get into it. First song we are going to talk about this week is Flowers with Baby Bird. This is an incredible indie pop track, fusing together dreamy piano ballads and soulful harmonies. I'm very impressed by the passion and soul that drives this song forward. The soft piano chords and lush string arrangements are endlessly giving and beyond gorgeous. The violin sounds like it's crying over these watery piano chords, and honestly, this is one of Flowers' most compelling vocal performances, both technically and in emotional presentation. These syrupy sweet harmonies at the beginning float delicately over the piano. They're very pleasant to listen to, but in the later deep, sultry delivery that dominates most of the track, it's so heavy and it bleeds emotion. The whole song also kind of stays within this gentle kind of lo-fi range with soft crackling and whining violin, really being the energetic highs of the track, if you can even call them that, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate that Flowers lets this song simmer and marinate rather than jumping the gun in terms of structure and giving too much too early. And the writing, in contrast to this powerful delivery, feels so small. It's yearning and delicate and vulnerable, relying on emphasis of a few lines rather than cramming and over detailing and over explaining what's going on. Pretty easily already one of my favorites of the year. Check this one out. We've got a new Guardin track with Two Steps Too Late, and this is a really cool step forward for Guardin. It feels pretty quintessentially him in terms of sound and aesthetic and style, but maybe a more mature and even laser focused expansion of his core sound. Because something that Guardin has always tactfully injected into his music, whether it be nuanced or very upfront and direct, is a self-awareness of not only his music and behavior, but also the reception and expectations of it. And sure, it is easy to get stuck in the cycle of making songs about songs, but I think that Guardin does a pretty good job of avoiding that, steering clear of that result. And in the song, I love this damp, brassy ambience that acts as the main melody for the production. It's blaring and kind of droning, which gives it the entire song this sort of tense sense of urgency, which, you know, with each line on top of it having this frantic, shouted delivery, it all, you know, adds up to being a really cool sound. Not to mention the muffled, militant drums sound absolutely killer here. They're so textured and tense and really cool. Some of his best writing on this as well too. The aforementioned delivery is a great vessel for these lines about self-doubt, a reaction to the incessant conversations surrounding his music and personal life, and, you know, him just kind of being fed up with it. It's a song that has a pretty apparent and occasionally bleak frustration to it that I think is something that is pretty easy to empathize with. It's a pretty great dissection of his relationship with his own music and also with those that consume it and those who wish to control it. I love this one in terms of ambience and atmosphere and texture. It's amazing in terms of writing and delivery. It is vulnerable and upfront. This is killer, man. Then we've got Carlby with No Good. The Cowboy Carlby EP is out, and I had to pick at least one song to talk about from it. I just kind of settled on this one. One, because I think it's a compelling showcase of pretty much everything Carlby is good at, and two, it's so catchy. And with those things Carlby being good at consistently is concise, digestible writing, infectiously catchy vocal melodies, and disgustingly clean production and engineering on the track. This kind of indie, kind of country instrumental from IOF has a pretty nice squeeze on everything that makes the twangy guitar and the clean drum work fall right into place with Carlby's dry, pretty pristine vocals. And I think that you get the best of both worlds with the vocals here. The song gives enough space for Carlby to get some poignant and reflective writing in it, with a lot of really great lines in these verses that I think are some of his recent best, but then also some really poppy, satisfying elements as well. The vocalizations on the hook are kind of sappy, and they're awesome. I love that they're a fun and engaging part of an otherwise kind of somber and dejected tone. As always, Carlby is a master of his craft. Then we have a new Murrurmur track with Black Lake Syndrome, and Murrurmur has always been pretty forward-thinking and innovative when it comes to production and vocal work, but I feel like Black Lake Syndrome produces a bit more of a controlled, reserved environment for things, and it ends up being a really cool sound. The entire song is this watery, ice-cold techno groove that slowly digs the atmosphere deeper and deeper down into the depths of the sound. sound. First introducing warm kicks over a cold ambience and muddied grooves, then adding in this obscured metallic scraping sound deep underneath everything that kind of sounds like distorted sonar beeps. Everything feels mysterious and tense, and as the name suggests, it does have this bubbly, aquatic feel to it. The textures are wet and pulse in and out of a song where everything is submerged. It has a groove that keeps on giving. You want to listen to it forever. It is definition cool. Go listen. Then we've got Lil Booj with Play Accordingly, which is yet another installation in folk's ever-growing influence in the alternative emo scene, which is a marriage of sounds that I am not upset about and continue to not be upset about. Michael Harrison's guitar work here is good and escapes unnecessary compression and polishing, giving the production a pleasant organic texture, which in turn accentuates Booj's vocals here. Because they benefit each other and they play off of each other well. Booj's vocals lean more into the underground emo sensibilities that I'd expect from him, but are textured and contrasted by the folkier production. Speaking of his vocals, I really enjoy the soft tone in his delivery here. It feels tired and a little exasperated, but still really smooth and clean. The subtle saturation gives it a nice slight punch too, which stands out nicely relative to the instrumental. And the writing has some really great vivid imagery in it as well, hitting wistful memories and uncertain futures in the same breaths. And in just a little over 2 minutes, it's short and sweet, ready for repeat listens. Liam has dropped Pictures Create Emotions. Where this song thrives is in its raw, jagged, modern kind of internet emo punk sound. The chugging guitars and tumbling drum fills are punched in with saturation and hit a pretty tried and true punk progression. Save for some buzzing synth melodies, it's a pretty straightforward and raw instrumental that does a good job of hitting that underproduced DIY sound. And Liam's vocals work parallel to that aesthetic. In the beginning of the track, hitting a strained and vulnerable mix that I think works really well. It's organic and undermixed, which I think not only helps Liam's personality break through, but I also think that it's just pretty stylish. And then the layered vocals also play into this sound pretty nicely. I can appreciate when an artist understands that obscuring vocals and not having them be the loudest part of the mix can be an advantage, and it can produce some really cool sounds and textures and emotion. In this case, the hook feels like it's drowning under the crashing waves of the drums, and guitar is kind of pushing up, gasping for air, which gives a very specific emotional resonance to the writing and the delivery of it. Rough around the edges, impactful of emotion, and has some really cool nostalgic sort of sonic decisions. It's pretty cool. And we're gonna wrap the week up with Claude with I Just Want to Leave a Trace. This song has a killer hook. Claude's vocals have this soft buzz to them that produces such a cool, sonically satisfying texture, and the melodies are just so damn catchy. It's a song that is straight up just fun to listen to. It sounds nice, it's fun to hear it, and the snappy digital production is a really nice match to Claude's vocals. It's beeping and quirky, hitting some poignant tones, but also maintaining a fun and poppy energy underneath the more somber and reserved tones of the track. I also enjoyed that it is a bit more of a hook-oriented track. Claude's verse here has some really nice writing that dives into these ideas of separation and where blame lies in the aftermath of turmoil, but I understand that when you have a hook this good, you can kind of just let it infect and spread to the entire track. I get lost in the melodies of this song, and when it's over, I just kind of want to listen to it again. And that's going to do it for this week's list. If you have heard these tracks, you know, tell me how you feel about them. If you haven't heard these tracks, go listen to them, come back, tell me how you feel about them. I value your opinion. Catch me in the next video where I quite literally beg for somebody to sponsor me.